Hello, everyone. The one thing I told Shantanu before we started was we need to make sure we unmute. And of course, I'm the one that forgets to do that. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Tab9 Live. I'm here with Shantanu, our Senior Director of Product Marketing. We're very excited to be showing you today a brand new feature. Shantanu, you want to, I guess you can introduce yourself. It's been a couple since we've talked to you, and then why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
Absolutely. Hey everyone, welcome to another session of Tab9 Live. My name is Shantanu Kedar. I lead product marketing here at Tab9. Based out of Boston and joined Tab9 almost like 8, maybe 9 months ago now. So that's a little bit about me. As far as what we're going to see in today's session, let me load up the slides with me 1 second. But as Adrian mentioned, we have a brand new feature, and that's what we'll be discussing today. So we have two new AI agents. So AI agents for Atlassian Jira. So we'll be talking about what these agents are, what you can do with them, and then more importantly, see these agents in action. So with that, let's get started.
Yeah. I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there that are currently using Jira. So exciting stuff.
Exactly. So before we get into today's topic, I just wanted to spend a minute or two on what Tab9 is and what we do, especially for folks who might not be familiar with the company or the product. So Tab9 is the AI code assistant that you control. So we do AI-powered chat, AI-powered code completion to accelerate and simplify your software development lifecycle. Tab9 is the originator of the AI code assistant category, and we launched our AI-powered code completion for Java back in 2018. Today, Tab9 is powered by models from Tab9, so proprietary models from Tab9, as well as models from leading third-party providers. So just wanted to double-click on that topic to provide some more information. So as I mentioned, we provide AI-powered chat. And for our AI chat, we offer customers complete flexibility when it comes to choosing the model that powers the chat. So you can choose from Tab9 protected, Tab9's proprietary models, Tab9 protected and Tab9 plus Mistral, as well as popular models from third parties such as Claude 3.5 Sonnet, GPT-4o, Command R Plus from Cohere, as well as CodeStral from Mistral. And this is really important because of several reasons. Like one is you're not logged into any of these models. So this enables you to select the right models. As it also gives you access to new models as and when they become available. So that's one big benefit. Another one is that it gives you the flexibility to choose the right model for your given use case or business requirements. So for example, if you're working on projects where data privacy is really important, where license compliance is really important, you can use a model like Tab9 Protected. So this is a proprietary model, so model that we created in-house. It's purpose-built for software development. And this model is completely private. So you can deploy it on-prem, in a VPC, in a fully air-gapped deployment. We do zero data retention policy for this model. And then more importantly, this model is trained on code that is permissibly licensed. So this means that when using this model, recommendations that you're going to get back from Tab9 are not going to match any proprietary code. So this is ideal model when you're working on projects where you have those really strict requirements when it comes to privacy and license compliance. When you work on projects where you don't have such strict requirements, you can choose a model that's optimized for performance. So this includes Claude 3.5 Sonnet, GPT-4o, Command R Plus, as well as Cohere. The other thing to that is that for our enterprise self-hosted customers, we also offer the option to connect Tab9 to your private LLM instance. So again, like huge benefit over here. You're not logged into any of the models. It future-proofs your AI strategy and enables you to pick the right model for your given use case. Tab9, we are a rapidly growing Series B startup, and we are backed by top-tier investors, including Atlassian Ventures, Costa Ventures, Qualcomm, as well as Telstra. We support over 600 programming languages and frameworks. So this includes all the commonly used and all the popular programming languages. We support all the major IDEs, so fully integrated with VS Code, JetBrains family of IDEs, Eclipse, as well as Visual Studio. Tab9, we are a clear leader in this space, and we are used by over 1 million developers across thousands of software companies. And as I mentioned before, we offer flexibility when it comes to deployment. So you can consume Tabnine as a SaaS offering, so a single tenant SaaS or a multi-tenant SaaS, or you can do a private deployment. So you can deploy Tabnine on-prem or in a VPC.
Nice.
All right. So that was a little bit about the company, about the product. So let's switch gears and focus on today's topic. So today we'll be talking a little bit about the role of AI in software development, and then focus a lot more on the two new AI agents for Atlassian Jira. The first one is the Jira implementation agent, and the second one is the Jira validation agent. So we'll be like talking about what these agents are, and then also seeing a demo as to how to use these agents. So at Tabnine, we truly believe that the future of software development is AI-driven, where AI agents work in close collaboration with human engineers, and AI orchestrates and manages various aspects of the software development lifecycle. We are still in the early stages, and it will take like the next few years for AI to become like a really integral part of the entire SDLC. Gartner also has a similar hypothesis. So they recently published their Magic Quadrant and the Critical Capabilities Report for AI code assistants. And there are a couple of strategic assumptions or strategic planning assumptions in there. So the first one is by the year 2028, over 90% of software engineers in enterprises will use AI code assistants. Like I think the adoption in the beginning of 2024 was about 14%. So again, like a big increase as compared to that number. And then the second strategic planning assumption is that by the year 2028, the productivity gain associated with using or adoption of AI code assistants, that would be upwards of like 36% as compared to 10% productivity gain that you currently have. So again, like this is the future, like in the next few years, this is where we would be. So just some lights out there. Currently, we have several agents that you can use to accelerate and simplify your software development lifecycle. So you can use, so for the planning phase, you can use Tabnine to ask general coding questions. We have our Code Explorer or the onboarding agent that makes it easy to understand code in an existing project. For the create phase, you can use Tabnine to generate code. Several options over there. One is code completions in the IDE. So as you type, Tabnine gives you recommendations or like auto completes your code for full lines, for whole lines and full functions. So that's one option. And then in our chat, you can also use natural language to generate code based on your design specs. For the test phase, we have a new test agent. This was released a couple of months ago, and you can use it to create comprehensive test plans with detailed test cases. Similarly, for the fix use case, you can ask Tabnine to fix an error in your code, and then Tabnine will provide recommendations. You can also create inline documentation using Tabnine. You can ask Tabnine to explain a piece of code. And then lastly, you can use Tabnine for maintenance. And you can use Tabnine to like change a code, refactor code, or add additional functionality.
And quick plug here, every Tuesday, you can come and watch me on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter's. All of it, I'm actually using all of these as I build different things. So check out Tabnine Labs every Tuesday at 3 Eastern.
All right. So we are really happy to announce that we are expanding our portfolio of AI agents with the addition of two new AI agents. So the first one is Jira implementation agent, and then the second new agent is the Jira validation agent. So with this functionality, you can connect Tabnine to Atlassian Jira. And once the connection is established, you can use these two agents. So with the first agent, you can ask Tabnine in natural language to implement a Jira issue that's assigned to you. And then Tabnine will generate the code for the requirements outlined in that Jira issue. In addition to generating code for Jira issues, you can also use Tabnine for validation. So you can ask Tabnine, again in natural language, you can ask Tabnine to check if your code, be it like code written by humans or code generated by AI. So you can ask Tabnine to check if your code accurately captures the requirements outlined in the Jira issue. Tabnine will do the review and give you recommendations on whether it like aligns with the issue or not. And if not, it will also provide recommendations on like how to do the fix. This release is significant for several reasons. Like first of all, Tabnine is the first AI code assistant that integrates with Atlassian Jira and the first to offer a full issue to code implementation. The other significance about this release is the fact that you can now do macro level tasks with Tabnine. So by that I mean, prior to this release, you typically use Tabnine for micro level tasks. So explain this piece of code, or generate a code that did XYZ, or create inline documentation for this code, right? So with this particular release, you can ask Tabnine to directly implement your Jira issue, bug, task, or subtask. There's no need for you to decipher the requirements in that Jira issue and then feed those requirements into Tabnine. So all of that flow is automated for you. There's no technical limitation around the kind of Jira issues that can be implemented with Tabnine, but in order to get the most value out of these agents, I would say the recommendation is to use Jira stories, bugs, tasks, and subtasks. So basically, Jira issues that represent like specific units of work, like issues that are like fairly close-ended. That's what we recommend. This is beneficial because it keeps the communication between you and the AI, like that communication is concise. It makes it easier to check the responses that come back from Tab9. It also allows you to like refine the responses or refine the output if needed. It's easy to look at the reference files that Tab9 used to generate that response, make sure like those are like the right files that are being used, as well as go through the follow-up questions that are being suggested by Tab9. Like this is like our first phase, if you will, of these agents, and we'll be making continuous improvements going forward. So at this point, we support parent issues. So by that I mean, if you look at the image on the right-hand side in Jira, you have this concept of a parent issue and a child issue. So for example, you can have a story as a parent, and then you have like a subtask of that story, which is a child. So for this phase, we are supporting the parent issues. So you can ask Tab9 to implement the story, but then if you have to implement its child, the subtask, you'll have to ask Tab9 to implement the subtask separately. Again, this limitation will go away with time. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that one.
Quick question from the chat. It says, is it similar to Gen AI tool? So this is a new agent that's part of Tab9, which is our AI coding assistant. So it exists as an extension or plugin to your IDE. So if you're using Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio 2002, Eclipse, or the JetBrains family, then you can access it through there. And we'll be showing a little demo of this in just a bit, where we connect to a Jira instance and pull this in and have it help us validate and then also generate code for your project. And just a reminder, if you're out there and you have any questions, please put them in the chat in however you're watching us, and we will try to answer those live.
As you all know, context is everything in AI, right? Without context, the AI behaves like a skilled software engineer off the street that doesn't know a whole lot about your organization. So without context, AI is going to generate recommendations that are often accurate, but they are very generic, which means they're not going to be useful like in your setting. So that's where it's really important to provide context to AI, so that way you can get highly tailored and personalized recommendations. So the image that you see on the left-hand side, this is the current context that we use for Tab9. So we use locally available code and data in the IDE to gain like information about your environment. So this includes your open files, open projects, any comments that you have written, repos that you have connected to, and so on. So it's like the image shows like the 14 or 15 different sources of information that we use to gain context. In addition to this local context, for enterprise customers, we also provide an option where you can connect Tab9 to your global code repos. So that's additional context that you can feed into Tab9 to get personalized recommendations. So this is what we currently have for all the agents. And then for the two new Jira agents, we are leveraging additional information as context. So for the Jira implementation agent and the Jira validation agent, in addition to using that local context and global context, we are also using the text in the Jira issues title and the text in the Jira issues description as context. So one recommendation is that like when you're using Jira issues with Tab9, like have some more detail in there, so that way like Tabnine knows what you're trying to accomplish and has like more information about your intent. So both these agents are now in general availability. They're available to Tabnine Pro customers as well as customers on our enterprise tier. Both agents are supported, as Adrian mentioned, on all the IDs. So that includes VS Code, JetBrains family of IDs, Visual Studio, as well as Eclipse. And then all the major programming languages and frameworks are supported. Just like every other Tabnine capability, even for this one, administrators or Tabnine administrators and enterprises have full control. So this feature is disabled by default for Tabnine enterprises. And then you can ask your Tabnine administrator to enable it for you. And then after that, you can connect Tabnine to Jira and then use the two agents. All right. So let's see the two agents in action.
All right, this is the fun part. All right, let's switch over here. This is it's my time. So we are going to be working on this weather application. Very lovely. Here is the current weather for Manhattan, where I am. And we're going to start by adding the Jira agent. So here is my VS Code open to this project, so our weather forecast app. And I have chosen to use Claude 3.5 Sonnet. As Shantanu mentioned, we have all of these different models that you can choose from. But first, what we want to do is connect to our Jira instance. And so we can do that by first opening up the chat. If the chat isn't open, you can click the little Tabnine icon over here. And then you can go to our settings cog gear, our settings icon. And then down here at the bottom, you will see a Jira section with a button that says connect. So we're just going to go ahead and click that. And because I have this in full screen, it probably did not show. So a window will pop up. If you're not in full screen, it will actually pop up. So we are requesting access to our Atlassian account. So I'm just going to hit accept. And we're connected. So since I was connected before, it did not ask me to log in. But if you are connecting for the first time, you'll be presented with a login screen where you can log into your Jira account, and then you'll be connected. So we'll come back over here and take a look. And I think that's done. Let me do one thing here, just so I'm not making it too mad with it being in that. Okay, and then accept. Connected. Should be able to close this now. This is the fun of doing things live. Let me see. Oh, nope, didn't connect. So let's log out. Okay. You know what? Let's restart everything. I've logged out completely this time. So we'll go back to tab 9 and hit connect. And so it will request access. It says that we're connected. Might need to restart my Visual Studio Code. if we're going to restart, might as well just do that update as well. All right. Okay. So I'm going to accept. Connected. Turn the IDD. There we go. So I think what it was is whenever I disconnected, I hadn't restarted my my IDE. So there might have been some things that didn't clean up. Sorry. Thank you for bearing with us. So let's take this back into my demo mode. Get rid of that window. And so now, if we click this, we should see the Jira issues I have. Oh, well, it turns out I don't have any Jira issues, so I guess I'm done. But you know what? Why don't you assign me some issues?
Yeah. That's
over to you.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me.
I don't get to leave early for the weekend, I guess. All right.
Hold on. And what Adrian just demonstrated, I think that's a really important point. So when we connected Tabnine to Atlassian Jira, we leverage the user permissions of Jira. So that way, only the issues that are assigned to you are gonna be available in Tabnine. So issues assigned to some other developer, like they won't show up in your Tabnine. So let me assign a couple of Jira issues to Adrian. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
Okay, so that's the first one. And
Great.
okay.
All right. So we'll go back over to my screen here. And let's check again. Oh, great. So I have 2 issues assigned to me. One for including the temperature information, and one for adding weather conditions description. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by using the implementation agent. We'll start by using the implementation agent. Oh my goodness, can't talk. And so I will just simply say implement this issue, and we will choose the adding the weather conditions. So as you can see, well, not from here. As you can see, we have information about the weather, but there's nothing about the weather conditions. It does look sunny here, so let's go ahead and implement that. And we want this one. So I'm just gonna simply ask it to do it and see what it has to say. Certainly, I'll help you implement the issue MAR 278, add weather condition description to the weather forecast app. We'll need to modify the component that displays the weather information to include weather conditions description alongside the temperature. Based on the project structure and available information, it seems the forecast tiles component is responsible for displaying the weather information. Let's update this component to include weather. Awesome. So let's modify the forecast tiles component. There's a wonderful button here that we can click that takes us right to that file. And we can see the changes here. So it says in this updated version, we've added a div with the class forecast title description that displays the weather condition description. This description is accessed from item.weather of 0 description. All right. So I am going to make that change. And I think I'm just going to add it right here. Does that look right? Am I on the right? Oh, sorry. There's multiple things in here. Forecast. Forecast titles. So we're going to do this. Here's the description. And we are going to put it primary info. This did it a little differently. Okay. Well, let's keep looking at this. So, and then it gives you what you need to update the styles, which is always nice because I don't like playing with CSS. So clicking on this was not okay. And it does seem to be using SAS, which this application is set up to use. And then lastly, it gives you the information for the tests. So great. So that's how that would be done. This is, I want to look into this implementation a little more before I do it, but this would be how you would access that ticket. And then next, what we would like to do is validate, use the validation agent from Jira. So I'm going to start a new conversation, and I'm going to say, oh, I need to open the forecast tiles again. All right. So we're going to have the forecast tiles open, so that way it's in context whenever we ask it this question. But we're just going to say, check if my code complies with the requirements in, and again, we'll pick the Jira ticket. So include temperature information. And so it says, thank you for providing the code and Jira issue details. Let's examine if the current code complies with the requirements in this issue. So requires adding temperature information in both Celsius and Fahrenheit in the weather app. Based on the code you shared, it appears you're partially complying with this requirement. But there's room for improvement. So here's the analysis. So your code does include temperature information in Celsius, which is great. The code currently doesn't display temperature in Fahrenheit. To fully comply, you need to add Fahrenheit temperature as well. And so it goes on to give you the recommendation for how to do this. And so first we need a function that converts Celsius to Fahrenheit. It's not available in this app. And then we want to display both in the UI. So here is its suggestion. First, we've got this function to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. Because everybody knows that off the top of their head. I don't. So let's go ahead and add that. Just add that here in the top. And then we want to modify the get info function. So let's find that. Get info function. It says keep all the existing code. So return. Here, what we're doing is we're changing this to, I think we're splitting things up. We're just adding in the, yeah. So this is all fine. So I'm going to copy that part, paste that in, save. So the modifications will display both Celsius and Fahrenheit temperature, fully complying with the requirements. Another summary. But hopefully, if we go and take a look at our app, hey, that one worked pretty well. So this is fulfilling the requirements. We have both the Celsius and the Fahrenheit temperatures displayed. Whether or not this meets, Shantanu's requirements, because he thinks it looks pretty enough, wasn't in the ticket. But we could also expand the ticket to say exactly where we want, how we want this to be. But yeah.
Now this looks good.
Yeah, and we do have a question. It says, couldn't you request to generate the full file code instead of having the locate where to include the changes? And yeah, that is something that I could do. I'm very much still in the habit of going through and kind of visually verifying the code. And so I'm at a comfort level right now to where I like to copy and paste in the pieces individually, because that gives me a little more confidence in the code. As I go on, there are some things where I will just do a follow-up to what I put in the chat and say, can you just give me the full file with the code? And it will do that. So it really depends on kind of one, your comfort level of working with AI generated code. And then also, how you talk to the chat. So let's just try it. Let's say we'll go back over here. And so can you give me the full updated code for this file? And so here you go. Certainly, here's the full code for the forecast file, incorporating the changes to display. And so this will give you everything, and you'll be able to just, insert it over it. And then it will even go into more details. Like these are basically the changes. So yeah. So those are the two things that we wanted to show you with these Jira agents. We're happy to take more questions. Happy to try some other things out. That first implementation I wasn't too thrilled with. But it was on the right track. See, do we have any other questions in here? For those of you in LinkedIn, Amaya has been doing a great job of keeping up with questions. So question, will there be an opportunity to pick Jira issues from some scope, project, epic, etc., not only those that are assigned to me? Shantanu, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, no, I think this is a good question. At this point, I don't believe we plan to do this. Like the main reason being, hey, like as far as permissions go, we want to make sure that only Jira issues that are assigned to you are available in here. So that's like one of the things. And then other feedback that we have heard is that, hey, like, I mean, as a developer, I don't want to do like someone else's work. So like, don't assign like someone else's tickets to me. So that's primarily the main reason as to why like we are restricting it only to like Jira issues that are assigned to that specific developer.
But we happily accept all feedback for consideration. So this is just the first pass at our Jira agents, and they will be improved over time. Is there any license impact in Jira Marketplace? Shantanu, you want to take that one?
License impact in Jira Marketplace? I don't think so. I mean, when you connect Tabnine to Atlassian Jira, you're basically, I mean, it's like a OAuth connection. So like you're using your Jira license, if you will, to connect. So you don't, I mean, if you have like a Tabnine license and Jira license, I think that's pretty much what you need.
Yeah. So we're using the official Jira APIs to connect to your instance. There's no extra cost on top of that.
Yeah.
Do Jira issues need to be in a specific format to optimize Tabnine output? Example, AC as a I want to so that.
Not necessarily. I don't think we need that level of specificity. But like one recommendation, like as I mentioned, like for this particular phase, we are using the text in the Jira issues title and description as context. So if it's like too vague of a description for that ticket, it's hard for Tabnine to interpret. Okay, like what exactly do you want? Which is the case with like any other thing in AI, right? I mean, you need to provide like some level of specificity, but I don't think like there is any requirement to say that, hey, like as a user or like a user wants to do XYZ, like I think it's okay to have it, but even if you don't have it, that's fine.
Yeah, so just remember that this is added context, and more context is always better. So for some of our tickets, we could have gone deeper into describing what it is we wanted to see, rather than this should also have Fahrenheit. We could have said, it should have Celsius and Fahrenheit. The Celsius and Fahrenheit should be able to be toggled. They should appear next to each other. Fahrenheit should be prominent and Celsius be in parentheses, things like that. So using natural language is fine, but just being as descriptive as you want, as you can, I guess. I've seen in the docs the Jira integration plugin was not working yet for on-prem installations of Jira. When is it planned to have it work with the Jira on-prem installs, and would the permission model change, i.e. which Jira can we see?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So currently we support Jira Cloud. So taking one step back, like there are like two main deployment options, if you will, for Jira. Like one is Jira Cloud, and then another one is Jira Data Center, which is like a private deployment of Jira. So right now we support Jira Cloud, but the plan is to support Jira Data Center in the next couple of weeks. So that support is coming out soon. Great. And that would be available to our enterprise self-hosted customers. And would the model permission change? I need to check with the product team, but I'm guessing the similar workflow will apply to Jira Data Center as well, where as a developer, only the Jira issues that are assigned to you are going to be available in Tabnine.
Yeah. We'd also love to hear any use cases where it would make sense for that model to change. So, if there's something that you have in mind and you have a use case for it, we'd love to hear that. Again, even with us, more context, the better. While Tabnine primarily offers code assistance, given that it can connect to Jira, would it be possible to also integrate with Confluence? This integration could allow users to ask questions about content on Confluence pages.
Yeah, so this is one of the roadmap items, like in addition to connecting to Tabnine to our code repos, also connect Tabnine to non-code sources of information such as Confluence, so that we can get additional context. So it's one of the capabilities that we have on the roadmap for Tabnine.
Are there any considerations on the functionality of comparing Jira test cases against the code? I'm not familiar with Jira test cases, but it seems like something that we would be considering, because we are looking to integrate with all the things we can in Jira, right? So we want to make sure that the developer is supported along every step of the software development lifecycle. And so anywhere that we can connect to outside systems to make that better, we're going to try. Can the two agents set up to automate and do validation as well for any implementation for a Jira ticket without us typing validate this Jira ticket code, or did I understand otherwise?
Yeah, at this point, yes. I mean, when you pick a Jira ticket, you do need to provide some guidance to Tabnine as to what you want to do with it. Like, do you want to implement it, or do you want to validate certain code against that Jira ticket? Yeah.
Does Jira agent include screenshots from Jira issues into the AI context? That's a great question.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And this is, again, like as I mentioned, this is phase one. So over time, we want to include other sources of information or other pieces of information that are in Jira issues for context. So this includes any screenshots that are added, comments that have been like added to a Jira issue by other developers or similar Jira issues, like history and so on. So that's all coming in the near future. But at this point, it's the text in the title and the description.
Yeah. Currently it's text, but kind of a little sneak peek is we are playing around with using images inside of as context. So that's going to be very exciting, and hopefully will be coming out in the future. So our engineers are hard at work testing out all kinds of ideas. So thanks for bringing that up. Will the Tabnine agent ask the user clarifying questions if the Jira story is too vague or has too little detail?
Good question. I haven't tried it. Like most of the examples that I have tried have like good amount of detail, and like it has been able to like work pretty well. I don't know. Like one thing that might happen is that like if the Jira issue is too vague, you might get an answer that is somewhat vague, as in like the more, as I mentioned, as Adrian also mentioned, like the more specificity that you provide, the better the answer. So if it's just too vague or too high level, you might get a response, but it might not be what you're looking for, because it's hard for Tabnine at that point to interpret your user intent.
Oh, actually, so I was just, as you were talking, I played around with it. Let me show this really quickly. So it doesn't do it automatically, but what you can do is I just said, implement MAR2 78 and ask any clarifying questions about the provided context and code. And so it says to implement this yada, yada, yada. However, before we proceed, I have a few clarifying questions. Where exactly in the UI should we display the weather conditions description? Should it be part of the primary info or the detailed info? Is the weather conditions description available in the current forecast data? If so, which field? Should we display a single weather condition for the day, or should we show multiple conditions if they change throughout the day? And so, yeah. But here are some questions. And because with Tabnine, the conversation that you have with the chat is part of the context, you can answer these questions and have it regenerate the thing. So while it might not do it automatically, it is something that you can add to the prompt if you want to. Some people want those questions, some don't. Some people say like, just give me the code, or don't, explain in step by step. There's lots of different prompts that you can put in there to kind of change the way these things work.
Yeah, this is really neat.
Yeah. If your context is in one repo, let's say a front-end repo, and a component makes an API call where the endpoint is in a different backend repo, how would the agent know what that API call should look like? Action, post, data, etc. And so I think this comes into play with our connection capability, where we can connect to external repos. And then the agent would know about that. Do you have anything else to add on that, Shantanu?
No, I think that's pretty much what comes to mind. As in, with connection, you do have an option of connecting Tabnine to your like specific repos. I think that would be handy in this case.
Yeah. So we're all about adding connection or context from wherever we can. External repos is just one of those, and Jira would be able to use that connection. Can you feed in designs to help with UI development, or is it text only? This is a great question, and like I love this. So as a developer, I was constantly given these like PDFs with like what the designer thinks that the app should look like, and sometimes I'm like, do you think we can do that? And so, yeah, it would be great. I think that's going to come along with when we start grabbing more than just the text from the ticket. So if there's any designs that get attached to the ticket, those would be added to the context. Not yet. But like I said, we are working with adding images to the context, and I've seen like a small internal demo where someone did basically like that. They fed in an image of what they wanted the design to look like, and chat was able to spit out the correct code. So in my experience, it uses the context of my project to check how I've implemented other APIs. Then it will implement it like so. I almost always include the prompt, implement it like done in, and then using an at mention. Yeah, that's a good practice, especially if you want to be very specific. If that file is currently linked in the file that you have open, it will know to pull that into context. But if it's, say, like a brand new page and you haven't added any imports in, it's always good to kind of help it out. So those at mentions were made to pull in context that it probably wouldn't know to do otherwise. Because you've probably heard about context window size. And so we want to give it all the information we can, but we don't want to overflow the context window. So we're trying, what Tabnine does is it walks through your code and it tries to find relevant pieces of content to put in. But you can always use at mentions, open other tabs, things like that to kind of guide it along. Is Jira feature supported for both SaaS and VPC offering?
Yeah, so it's supported for SaaS at this point, and the support for VPC offering is we're targeting in the next couple of weeks.
Great. Are any plans to offer this feature for Azure DevOps?
That's a great question. And in fact, like as the product team was working on, okay, like now that you're like started off at Jira, like what other similar tools that we can connect Tabnine to? And Azure DevOps was on the top of the list. So not at this point, but in the near future.
I like that. Thank you for trying that out. I've seen one-liner Jira stories, sadly, want to kick it back to POs. Look, I've been there as well. And what's great is like you can just say, you can be really good with the prompt, and you can say, just give me back a list of follow-up questions, and then you can just copy and paste those and put them in a comment in the ticket and then kick it back, right? Or if or if you have like a wireframe or something, possibly you could answer them. But it's amazing the different things that you can just straight out ask in the chat and it will bring it back. Is there documentation on how that can be done? I don't believe that was shown in this presentation, unless I'm mistaken. What is the context here? Hold on, private message. Code-based connection. So is there documentation for code-based connection?
Code-based connection, not yet. So that capability is in private preview, where we are working with a handful of enterprises to like refine that feature. But once this feature becomes available in GA, that's when we'll have like proper documentation in our product docs.
Probably have time for a few more questions. We want to thank everyone for sticking with us here at the end. Similar to GitHub Copilot, but much better. Oh, thank you. How the IP and privacy is managed. How can we convince the financial clients whether CISO raises any concerns? This is a good question. We do have a lot of financial clients. We're not allowed to say those out loud, but Shantanu, you want to expand on this?
Yeah. And I think like as Adrian mentioned, like financial customers, like in government, aerospace, defense, like all these companies where it's a highly regulated environment, that's when like Tabnine really shines. So what we offer is like Or let me elaborate on a couple of things. Like one is privacy and another is what we call as protection. So we have a license compliant models from Tabnine. So for our code completion as well as for our chat, we have models that we created in-house. So these models are trained only on code that is permissively licensed. So this means that when you're using Tabnine with these models, the recommendations that you're going to get back are not going to match any proprietary code out there. So this removes any concerns around IP infringement and so on. So those are the models that are available to you. But then in addition to that, we also give customers flexibility to use like third-party models like GPT-4o, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So it just depends on like what the customers want. I mean, we have customers that are not in these highly regulated environments and they wanna or they have a preference for using some of the third-party models. So for financial services, like Tabnine Protected, that's like an ideal choice. It ensures that there aren't any violations when it comes to like IP infringement. And then for our enterprise customers, we also offer indemnification. So that's another capability that's available. As far as privacy goes, we have again, like we offer customers flexibility. So you can consume Tab9 as a SaaS offering, or you can do a private deployment. So you can deploy Tab9 on-prem in a VPC in a fully air-gapped deployment. So that way all the data stays within the confines of your environment. So that's one big selling point for Tab9 when it comes to financial services and other companies in regulated environments. And then we also have a zero data retention policy. So we don't use customer data to train on our models. We don't store the data. It's not shared with any third parties.
So it seems that in terms of data privacy, Tabnine is safe. What about the suggested code? I mean, could the suggested code be infringing IP from somewhere else, private leaked code?
Yeah, so it's similar to like what I mentioned before. Like if you use the Tabnine protected model, which is a model that we created in-house, its purpose was built for software development, and that model is only trained on code that is permissively licensed. So that way there aren't any issues when it comes to getting recommendations from Tabnine when you're using the Tabnine protected model. So it's not going to match any proprietary code. There aren't any issues with IP infringement.
And I think we are probably one of the most transparent places out there. You can go to trust.tabnine.com, which is our trust center. You can see you can download lists of every repo we use to train our model, and you can also see the licenses that were involved.
Exactly. There's complete transparency. So like for the Tabnine protected model, as Adrian mentioned, you can also like look at the repos that were used to train that model.
Will it be possible to grab specs for a ticket out of a Confluence link or other Jira instead of retyping it in the Jira issues?
Let's go to grab specs.
So I think we touched on this earlier, where right now we are just connecting to Jira issues, but we do have plans in the future to include Confluence. And I think, again, in the future, we'll be able to determine if something is linked from Confluence as part of the ticket and dive deeper into that. So currently we are only at, what we're calling like the parent level. If there are subtasks or links to things like Confluence or other tickets, we're not exploring that right now. Do you have IAR integration in your development pipeline? What is IAR? I'm not sure. So if you're still with us, if you could please elaborate. Otherwise, you can always send an email to feedback@tabnine.com if you have any ideas, any asks. All right. So we're coming up on our hour here. I'm getting IAR Embedded Workbench, an integrated development environment that supports over 88,000 ARM devices. It offers code optimizing and debugging features. So this is a question about if we are going to be able to support that IDE. I see. I have not heard of it yet. I don't know if you've heard anything different, Shantanu?
No, I haven't heard about it yet.
Yeah. But we can definitely take that back and see what see what they say. We try to make sure we're covering the most popular IDEs. We do work with some ARM related industry, and so maybe that's something we should look into. But yeah, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Okay, well, if your question was not asked here, please feel free to send them in LinkedIn. You can put them as a comment on YouTube or tweet us at Tabnine. We'll be happy to try to answer those for you. Thank you so much for joining us. This was fun.
Yes.
It's always fun to play around with code. We will be back, I think, in 2 weeks for Tabnine Live. I will be back on Tuesday for Tabnine Labs, where I will be exploring migrating a React application from JavaScript to TypeScript. And that application is the one that we looked at today because it was a little bit of a pain for me earlier today. One last question. Is the roadmap for Tabnine agents posted anywhere?
No, it's not publicly available, but I mean, it's something that we can share under NDA. As in, if you reach out to us, get you introduced to the right folks on the product side. Great.
And I think what the best way to do that is to use the form on our website to reach out.
Yeah. The contact us form on the website is a great place to do that. Excellent.
All right. Well, I think it's time to play us out. All right. We will see everyone in 2 weeks. I'll see everybody on Tuesday. Thanks for coming. Hey, you have a good rest of your day, Shantanu.
You too. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.